Two things we gotta do. Turn on some lights. Whoop, look at the size of that toolbox, my goodness. Let the sunshine in, although it is a little gloomy this morning. A little overcast, we had a little rain all night, on and off. But we're not gonna let that deter us. I'm Jimmy, we're making it work, no matter the weather conditions. Parking lot's empty, but we got a few cars left over from yesterday, and a few cars that have been waiting for a long time on parts. We're gonna do something today. We're gonna make it happen. It's gonna be fun. I might learn something, you might learn something. Stay tuned. Broken Toyota Camry, oh my goodness. All right, oh, the door's locked and all the windows are down. That's about as strange as it gets. Stole it. Actually, I'm just kidding. This isn't broken. We're doing a tune-up and induction service and an oil change, I think. This is a 2004 Toyota Manufacturing Corporation Camry. One of the most popular cars on the planet after the Corolla. I'm putting all the windows up because I don't want it to get wet if it rains. This is actually a very good customer's car. Nice guy. He's from Boston. Kind of loud. Super nice guy, but been a customer for years. I'm just going to do the tune-up real quick and an induction service. Then I think I'll probably put on the alignment rack and do the oil change. Should be easy. Hood shocks work. I'm going to pop the engine cover off this thing. We're going to put 4 spark plugs in it. We'll just time-lapse that. Starting now. Some of this juicy goodness wins product in the gas tank. Man, I'm already feeling new car vibes, I'm telling you. Looking around here for a good place to do the induction service, and I think the best place, you could do the PCV, but that's going to favor cylinders 1 and 2 the most. And it's going to disable the PCV system while it's running at 2,000 RPM cruise speed, which is probably not good. Won't hurt anything, but I'd rather not do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll use this purge hose. This goes right down to the throttle body, and it'll be nice and rubbery when I pull this clamp back. It still feels like it's kind of rubbery. It hasn't completely turned to plastic yet. We'll try it. Worst case scenario, I'll replace the hose if it cracks. This has a little tip. If you guys haven't seen some other videos where you put this in a rubber end, as long as it's dry, it'll stay. It's got ridges on it, but if it gets wet, it pops back out. So you might have to have someone else start the car or start it yourself and then stick it in the vacuum leak. And then you feed this in. You can do it in 2 parts or 3 parts depending on how old the car is, how well it's been maintained. If it hasn't been maintained very well, I try to do 3 thirds, let it sit 10 minutes, a third, let it sit 10 minutes, a third. But this car has been well maintained. We've done this service for about every 2 years we do it. So I'll do half a can, let it sit 10 minutes, and then do the other half. And then the second fluid, you put in with a dispenser that I'll hang off the hood latch and run that through at a rate that makes it take 15 to 20 minutes. And that helps finalize cleaning off what this soaks up. So this kind of softens and weakens it, and this helps remove it. They kind of both do the same thing, but I've had good results with it. As long as it's not super crystallized carbon, like the Mini Coopers, they like to burn the carbon onto the valve and it won't come off. For those, you have to do a walnut treatment. And that's when the severe cases where misfires, cold misfires start and rough idle and all that kind of stuff. None of those problems with this vehicle. Let's stop talking about it and do it. All right, got the throttle stop on the gas pedal, keeping it around 1,800, 2,000 RPM. The rubber did end up splitting, and I took the little tapered cone off the hose, comes off, and I just shoved the hose into the vacuum line. So now we're going to try to introduce this stuff slowly, and we're going to go through half a can. Go slowly, keep the engine running, and then let it heat soak for about 10 minutes. First half the can's done. Now we're going to let it sit 10 minutes, take a little break. It's got to soak into the carbon, you know. And then we'll do the second half of the can. Which, what I recommend during the 10-minute break is you take out your phone, You know, you can surf the internet, you can buy stuff on Amazon, you can look at adult websites, but don't do that. Text your mom. See how your mom's doing. You got 10 minutes to kill, right? If my mom was still here, that's what I would do. She got the MS and she's no longer with us, sadly, but I think about her during my 10-minute break. Just text your mom, that's what I'm saying. Be good. And if your mom's not there, text your dad. That's what I'm gonna do. Alright, now that that second half of the can's done, pour this stuff into my dispenser. Alright, she's cooking. You definitely want a little break in the stream. You don't want a steady stream. You want a little bit of a break. Otherwise the engine will kind of start choking on it and it won't work as well. And it'll go too fast. And what happens then is you just end up dumping it all in the exhaust and it'll have a really clean exhaust system. So you gotta go slow, be a little patient. If you didn't get a chance to text your mom or your dad while you're using the other chemical, then you can text them now. You got about a 15-20 minute wait. So you go on Amazon afterwards. Might as well start the oil change stuff while I'm waiting. F-150 with the valve cover gaskets is back, but it's not a comeback. He just wants us to clean it up and give him new seats and carpeting. Let's see what happens. But the point I got the Camry out for was I gotta take this out and bring the Toyota Camry in so I can change the oil. I don't have time to use the regular method, so I'm gonna use magic. Just like that, it's done. It only takes a second. If you gotta really focus though, concentrate your energy, it's easy. Good editing program helps a little bit too, but just keep that between us. Luckily, to save time, this lift goes really fast too. Told you. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can fit my specialty Nipex Toyota Camry oil filter tool in there. Let's see how tight it is by hand. It's a tiny little filter too, so it's not easy to grab. I didn't adjust it to Camry 2.4 specifications. Try that. Yeah, that goes. Ooh, it's hot. We always do his oil changes too, so we probably put this on there. But it wasn't that crazy. Just a little tighter than I'd like. Look how nice the oil looks. He changes his oil like every 6 months, even if he only goes 800 miles. It's probably the case here. That oil looked brand new. I'm all for maintaining your vehicle and keeping it, you know, getting the longest lifespan possible out of it, but I don't agree with changing the oil every 3 to 6 months, whether you drive the car or not. Once a year at the most, if you're not driving the car. Nothing happens to the oil, whether it's sitting on the shelf or sitting in your car. I mean, maybe there's a chemist that can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I've taken quarts of oil off the shelf that are so old. I mean, literally, this shop's been here for 40 years. It was a parts store. And I've taken oil containers off the shelf that are 2050 from the 80s. And you take the cap off and look in there, you can't see anything separated. It physically looks the same. Maybe all the chemicals don't separate the way I'm thinking in my mind, where it's dyes and detergents. You would think you'd see some kind of a layer of some kind of separation, unless all the chemicals are made the same color and the dye manages not to separate. Seems like a stretch. That's what I'm trying to say. Got a brand new Pro Select oil filter going on this thing. Looks like the surface is nice and dry, so I'm going to put a little oil. Normally there's enough oil on the gasket surface, you don't have to really do that. Seat the gasket, about a half a turn. 14 millimeter on the drain plug. It's going to be hot and clean. Look at that oil. Look how nice that oil is. Look how nice that oil is. I usually let it run until it goes to a drip and it's no longer a straight trickle. But this oil is so nice, it doesn't even really matter when you put the drain plug back in, as long as you get the customer all 4 quarts of new oil in there. Alright, I'm going to call that a win. If the oil was nastier, I'd wait a little longer. But when the oil is this nice, no point in doing that. Remove all traces that you were in there. It doesn't go down as fast. Haven't figured that out yet. Just gotta be a little patient, that's all. I think some of you guys I'm getting a lot of new subscribers, which I really appreciate, but a lot of you guys might have seen before. I always take the oil cap and lift the dipstick up or take it completely out. That way, if I ever end up on some other kind of a vehicle, someone lets it down wanting to move the car, they'll go, uh-oh, I probably didn't put oil in this. So, the oil's right there. Oh, just a tick over 4 quarts. When we get the oil from the bulk oil tank, that's how we know how much. We go by the specifications, and then of course use the dipstick to verify. Because I find specifications that aren't quite accurate within a half a quart or so. It's about a quarter to a half a quart over. I don't think that little filter is going to hold that much, but let's see. Fire it up, recheck the oil level. One way to know someone's from up north, they got an alarm system in their car. It has a factory security system. I call it a neighbor nuisance. That's all it really does, annoys the neighbors. People don't come running over to see if someone's stealing your car. They just go, turn off that confounded alarm. All right, I've been stalling, trying to let the oil settle so we can recheck the level. There you go. It's right a tick over the full line. That's good. It said 4.2, so that's about what I got out of the waste oil tank. I mean, waste oil. Out of the 55-gallon drum of oil we have like 7 different kinds of oil. So it's good. This thing's done. I already did all the fluids. The only thing left, take her for a drive. Well, I'm not going to say I'm completely shocked, but I will say I'm surprised. She approved all the work. We're going to change all these pulleys. I started taking the bottle out of my way to get to the top one. The rest go from underneath. I might just have to break that thing out of my way with a pry bar because the bolt is covered in melted plastic. Oh, another thing happened too. Joe got the Audi done. It's running. It's over there in the end bay behind his gigantic toolbox. And him and Paul are playing with it. It has a radiator leak. And the customer doesn't want to do the radiator because the warranty company won't pay for it. This engine's being done by the extended warranty company, FYI. And they declined the radiator too. The customer and the warranty company don't want to replace the leaking radiator on a car we're putting the engine in. Alright. Let's see what we can do here. Might be able to break that off of the nut. Oh, look at that. It came right off. What's the big deal? Here I am thinking it was going to be a big ordeal getting the pry bar. Not saying that bearing got hot, but it looks like 17. Let's grab the old mountain wrench, see what'll happen.
Jimmy, you like bacon on pizza?
Yeah.
I can do half bacon, half sausage.
Yeah. Bacon might be over.
Bacon's a little greasy unless they really cook it good.
You know what?
But I'll eat anything else. If they cook it good, it's awesome.
It's got water got down at
The sausage and onion goes together good.
You know what I saw on the internet? They said it's a miracle cure for acid reflux. And tell me if this makes sense.
Not milk.
Kimchi. Well, yeah. Kimchi. You know what kimchi is?
Some kind of Japanese stuff? Or?
Yeah, it's super spicy fermented cabbage. You ferment and put it in a jar and you bury it.
That'd be the worst thing.
With peppers and onions and it's fermented.
That'd be the worst thing for your digestive system. Cabbage makes you give you gas.
But the guy said they found because it has some kind of natural probiotic bacteria in it, it'll level your guts out in a week.
Really?
If you have, I mean, God forbid I try it and I'm about dead. You know?
We're gonna go to the old 1/4-inch ratchet action because my gear wrench, my mountain wrench was just spinning loose tight. It was a terrible ordeal. Now maybe I can get it by hand. I think that maybe there's plastic in the threads or something. It feels like something's like Loctite on there maybe, I don't know. Feels like it's about out. Oh yeah, victory. Look at this thing. My goodness gracious. The bearing just locked up or got hot and transferred heat into the plastic. That's what happens. Everything else happens from underneath, so let's get this thing in the air. You probably don't have to take the tire off, but I think it'll make it a little easier instead of working in between. Ooh, they were plenty tight, I'll tell you that much. Check all these pulleys for melted plastic so it doesn't mess up your new belt or knock it off a pulley or something like that. There's a little power steering fluid over here, and it might have a small engine oil leak too. But the power steering, when you force it with no belt, it usually pushes fluid out. So we're about to check the power steering fluid level when we're done. Hopefully the pickle juices will get it when this ratchet wrench starts going back and forth. Sometimes if you push up on it and load the ratchet, load the bolt, it'll actually force the wrench to ratchet because the extra friction on the threads from pushing up will help. But it's a little bit of a pain, so usually around this time I'll just try the pickle juicers to see what happens. Oh, look at that. See? I don't need to worry. They got me a belt kit, which is all the idlers and a tensioner, which is the 3 plastic pulleys basically. The tensioner should come with a 1/4-inch steel pin in it, so it's retracted, so you'll be able to put everything together. Use a wrench to unload it and pull the pin out, like a European car. If you've done a lot of BMW or Mercedes, they have a little pin because they're hard to get to sometimes. The tensioner's a little tricky. There's 2 13s, one above and one below, and the pulley blocks the top one. So your option is to tension it and put those 1/4-inch pins in if you have them around, which I do, but I was going to show you the other method, which is removing the pulley. The bolt's a reverse thread because otherwise, the way the tensioner moves, you would loosen the bolt. So you got to turn the thread right to get the bolt to loosen. So just note that if you don't have that 1/4-inch pin to lock it back. That's why I'm doing it backwards. It's a tight squeeze. I'm hoping I'll be able to clear it. The bolt should fit out between the firewall and the pulley, I believe. Oh, gravity check on the washer we're throwing out. And you can see that pulley is also damaged. So, one plastic pulley goes bad, change them all, do yourself a favor. Now I should be able to fit a socket over the top where the pulley was blocking it and get the tensioner out. It's a little guy, only about that big. Not the first time I've heard that. Because I'm not that tall. What'd you think I meant? I'm gonna use a socket now that the bolt's free spinning. Should be alright. Look at that. You feel like you win a prize when you get it done. That's actually a bolt you might want to save. I've got probably a ton of them by now, though I gotta look. I just ordered a hardware bin. Oh, I probably shouldn't tell you. I could do a tool review because it's US made. I'm gonna get the hardware out of my toolbox. I've been trying and wanting to do it forever. I got 2 of my big drawers tied up with hardware and plastic clips and stuff. I'm gonna get a nice bin, take it out of there and put it over my file cabinet in the corner. So I can use my toolbox for tools. I might order a top hutch like Joe has. I'm kind of jealous. I think it's out. Question now is, does it fit out of the vehicle? Let's see. Oh, look at that. I might have to take the pulley off the new one, but the new one, this is going to be pressed back and it's going to go into this little hole here so that it's kind of out of your way while you put it all back together. But it might not fit up in the hole unless I can drop it in from the top. See how sneaky we are when the parts are here. All right, gates. Complete serpentine kit. Belt, all these pulleys, I believe, and the tensioner are in there. Made in the US of A. Fabrique aux EU-US. Hecho and EUA. I don't know what that means, but as long as everyone's happy, I'm happy. I don't feel like getting my knife out, so I pocket screwdriver. This is thin tape. You really only need a knife when you got straps and stuff on heavy things, like radiators or whatever. Uh-oh. Did I open it upside down? Should say open from other end. Luckily it wasn't a tragedy and nothing happened. There's a belt in there and everything. Look at that. Let's get to work. The question is, do I have to take the pulley off of this, or can I get it in there without it? See how sneaky I am. I wonder if the way it's shaped, if I can leverage it like this here or something. A little, oh, are you kidding me? Is that gonna go in? Oh, that's nice. That's perfect. All I gotta do now is get the bolt. Oh, the pin's smaller than I thought it would be too. It's like 3/16. I thought it would be 1/4 inch, but maybe that's only Mercedes and BMW. My deep socket, a little bit of pickle work, and we're good. I don't want to tighten it too much. I got to get them both started first. Whew. Those are some long bolts. Let me tell you what, they're like 1.25 inches long, but they only really need to be about 1 inch, I think. But you know, who am I to judge? I mean, decide. It's not really judgment. This Capri wrench is up to the task. These are probably good 25 foot-pounds or so, I would guess. It's not something you really got to look up the spec for. It's not critical, but you definitely want to go snug plus a little so the bolts don't loosen up. And if you're not really sure, if you're a new mechanic, you don't really have a good feel, do yourself a favor and look the specs up and get it accurate. When you've been doing it a while, you'll feel what, you know, when you're around 20 foot-pounds, 30 foot-pounds, and stuff like that. Pulleys will be easy. We'll come back when I'm putting the belt. Oh, that confounded noise would stop. And I'm putting the, oh, the phone. It's ringing. Good thing we're already busy. Hey, they got it. All right. This might be redundant since I did a Jeep just the other day. I think it was yesterday, the alternator. But if you didn't see yesterday's video, today we're going to put a belt on this one. The only part that messes people up is that this idler pulley here, it's below the alternator, but the belt has to come down to it and back up to the alternator. Otherwise you'll never get any belt tension. So and it is a squeeze to get it in there. There it goes. I find if I keep a little tension on the belt while I wrap it around stuff, that it usually helps. And then the belt has to come over to the tensioner between the power steering and the crank pulley. Now the fact that there's a pin in there, you would think it would help you get the belt on, but it doesn't. It gets it close, and you have to load the tensioner, get the belt on, and pull the pin out. So it's a, I believe it's a 15. Well, I can't move the tensioner anymore. Let's try going on the smooth pulley last. It's closer. Still don't fit though. That's disturbing. Well, maybe that's a bad choice of words. That's disheartening. That's bad. I feel like I might strip the bolt. That's a squeeze. You got to get the pin out of the top now too. That's the fun part. I might have to get a magnet. I can't get my chubby little digits in there. Let's see if this will do it. Ta-da! Johnny, tell him what he's won. Absolutely nothing except a little flat rate labor. Yet I still feel like a winner. Alright, the belt's all on, everything's good, everybody wins. Oh, I keep forgetting too that I have this Odelphi headlight. I got it a long time ago and I just forget about it all the time. In the summer it's pretty hot to have a headband on, but we're coming into the fall. I'm going to use this more often, it's super handy. I'm not trying to sell it to you, but I do like it. It's a good headlight if you're considering one. I like it. So, but you got to remember you have it. I've got so many lights. I got my pocket light, my stream light, my Astro light, my snap-on light, my headlight. I got Milwaukee light on top of my box. I got lights all over the place. I got lights I don't even use in my toolbox. Some of them need batteries, but this one's nice because your hands are free. Alright, belts and pulleys, nice and lined up. Riding a little close to the edge in that one, but it's like almost the same exact width as the belt. All good. So power steering fluid's topped up, coolant's topped up. Take it for a quick drive and see what's next. Alright, looks like the Jeep's that's been out in the grass for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. He's finally said he'll pay to fix the hoses on his truck. So I nursed it in here with no brake pedal. Pretty easy. I just drive, neutral, eased it in. And then if you overdo it, you can just put it in reverse a little bit. The trick is not to panic. I don't recommend it if you're not really sure of what you're doing when you're trying to do something like that, but I've been doing it for years. They wanted to push it in. I said, I'll drive it in. Anyway, I'm going to probably try to do these brake hoses without taking the wheels off, because it looks like quite a fiasco. So if I just turn, I'm going to lift the front end up, turn the wheels all the way to the right, do the left hose, turn them all the way to the left, and do the right hose. And he doesn't want to do any other brake work, so let's get to it. Looks like the caliper end broke loose pretty easy. I didn't expect it to, but it did. That's the rusty end. Try to break it loose a little bit. That's going to be the one that's probably going to be hard to get. I'm probably going to have to get a little torch action on that thing. Uh-oh. That feels like some bad stuff might happen. I'm going to roll a torch over here. It's got undercoating all over it. Hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. I don't think it will. We'll see if it'll let go. Put a little heat to it. Even a gear wrench will take it loose. I was remembering the older ones, I thought this had a nut that went over a hose end, but it's just a weird looking line fitting. We got hoses that are 4 inches longer than stock. It looks like a stock hose on there. We probably didn't need to, but Paul wanted to try them. Said as long as they don't interfere with something where I gotta worry about them rubbing, then they'll probably work. Now this is probably gonna be a little warm. Uh-oh. Jeepers, it's the cops. What happened? Uh-oh. As a nut comes off, this wrench falls off of it. At least it's turning. That's progress. Getting somewheres. Ow. Alright, I got it. Just a bolt and a nut. Oh, someone put an extension on there. It's supposed to go up here. So they've modified the line. I'll just put it back where they had it. The nut is fighting me a little bit, so I can't turn it by hand. So I'll start the hose by hand instead. And then I can turn it with a wrench. As soon as it cooled off a little bit, it tightened up on that line, but as long as it doesn't twist the line, good to go. I was wondering why a nut was turning on the other side and it wasn't some kind of factory blind nut, because it's not factory. I am going to use a power tool here, but that's because I don't have the tire off. I can't really reach in there easily. Try to put a washer on either side of the hose. Make sure there's no dirt or rust on the caliper where the bolt goes in. I haven't tried to break the bleeder loose yet, but I'll do that right now. He's not going to buy calipers, so what I'll probably do is, worst case scenario, I'm going to have to take the caliper off and put the hose at the top and open and close the hose fitting if I can't get the bleeder to open, because he doesn't want to buy anything else. For me to get a pedal, I might have to play some games. We'll see. I'm going to attach this to here. I'm going to have to tie wrap this thing. I don't want this rubber hose to hit the tire. It looks like it'd probably be okay, but I'm going to do something to just get another inch or so of clearance. Oh, nice. It turned. It turned. Yay! This side loosened up without the torch. That's nice. Although the line's a little stuck in the fitting. So I'm just going to work the fitting back and forth until the rust and corrosion in there kind of eases up on it. All of a sudden you'll feel it when it lets go of the line. You're basically just generating heat. You don't want to break the line, of course, so you just got to be patient. Another option is to loosen the hose and spin the hose off, spin the new one on, and tighten it up the quarter turn or so you loosened it. Maybe we'll try that. Get on there, you lady. Sucker. The undercoating and the rust combine to make it 11.5 millimeters. You do what you gotta do. The only hard part is finding the beginning thread without cross threading it. There you go. The only time that'll bite you is if you can't quite get it tight enough. Then you'll have to roll the torch over. But I already got it pretty snug. Well, I got good news. Bleeder number 2 came loose. This thing's just a bleed job away from being done. And of course I'm going to gravity bleed it first. I'll take the cap off the master so it'll let the fluid run out. Try to get some kind of a puddle. Then I'll grab an assistant. Hold it down. Oh man, this thing's gonna have brakes soon. Pump it up. Hold it. And that is steady fluid as she goes. Go to the other side. Alright. This Jeep might not look complete because it's not complete. But we should have a brake pedal now. There's no tag on it. So I can't really drive it fast. If you guys didn't see the first video on this Jeep about 3 or 4 weeks ago, it came in, it said 2019 on the paperwork. I'm like, that's not a 2019, it's a 2006 or 7. 167,597 miles. Had no brake pedal because the hose blew off. And they said he was towing it in because it didn't run. And he damaged the brake line holding it down to the trailer. But it obviously had rusted apart. Bottom line, it's fixed now. Got a brake pedal. I'm just going to drive it around the building a few times and make sure the brakes work. And no tag, so I can't really take it on the road. Got a good brake pedal. All right. Do a couple laps. I'll go back up front, see what's next. All right. You guys might remember this Honda Accord from last week. I checked the AC. Someone did about $3,000 worth of work and it still wasn't cold. It had the control panel's not closing the heater control valve all the way. They can't get parts to fix that. So we advise the customer not to turn it to hot. If you have to for defrost, you have to go under the hood and pull the heater control valve closed. So they added a couple more things to check. One of the windows apparently doesn't work on these illegally tinted windows. They're way past 15. I think 15% is the maximum. And these are way past that, like 30 or so, but whatever. Got a broken windshield. And they added, they said, check to see if it sounds like it starts normal. It seems to take too long. So we're going to try that a few times. Yeah. And we'll give it one more for good measure. Yeah, that's about as good as a 97 Accord's ever started, I think. Let's see what's up with the windows. Go to the back one. Uh-oh, nothing happens. Let's try from here. Uh-oh, nothing happens. That's terrible news. The other one works. All the other windows but the left rear. And I don't hear any noise in there, and there's fingerprints on it. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's got that window pinned up and the regulator's bad. We're gonna have to take the door panel off. Before we go up front, let's take a peek in here and see what the, make sure it's unlocked. Unlocked. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. The actuator doesn't work. And the window doesn't work. And someone has definitely been playing with this. It's broken. Alright, I just want to get a little look around and see what's going on with it. There's handprints all over this. So, alright. Now I'm going to go up front. Alright, Paul said, yeah, go ahead and take the door panel off. I'm sure they want to know exactly what's wrong. I said, there's handprints on the door panel. Like someone just put a screw in the regulator to hold the window up. Yeah, they'll want to do it, I'm sure. Okay. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I need backup. I got to do that in verses. When you get to the second line, I believe, then the next chorus starts, or I forget how it all works. So, pop this little clip off of here. Something Sarah would call a clipper doodle. It's easier than it looks. Trying not to break anything. Sometimes they don't cooperate. You got to really tug it on it, and you don't want to because you know it's going to break, right? All right, that's good. Now this little snap, I love these little pick sets. These are gear wrench pick sets, but any brand's good. It's definitely something I wouldn't buy in the tool trucks though, because it'll be really expensive and it won't really be any better. There's better brands than Gear Wrench, I'm sure. They just rebrand someone else's picks. But they're super handy for all kinds of electrical connector stuff. This is supposed to normally block that over, but the door panel's a little deformed because it's old. This thing should just about lift off of here. Uh-oh. There is one electrical connector for the door light. The release tab's on the bottom underside. I don't know. Just seems kind of silly. Let's get that plastic cover off of there. Water shield, some call it. Someone commented on my Chevy Volt window regulator video from about, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, and said, "Hack doesn't put the water shield on." I'm like, you didn't watch the video to the end, dummy. Oh, it's good stuff. Let's see what is going on. I'll have to take this all the way off probably, because it's not showing itself yet. If I pull this bracket off of here, I probably don't have to tear it anymore. I usually just use a piece of painter's tape to tape the water shield back up when all the glue is like this. This isn't factory glue. Someone's put that on there. Some of you Honda guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not positive. Like a lot of things in life. Getting my incandescent test light hooked up. I just put it in the power and ground. Actually, the wire feeds. They're both grounded, and it'll send power to one wire to try to work the motor. So try it up, down. Nothing down, only up. That tells me something might be going on with the switch. Since I tried both leads, I'm checking for power and ground at the same time. So now I want to see if I'm not getting my ground or not getting my power. Because all they do is switch polarity, positive and negative and positive and negative. When you don't work the switch, they're both negative. If you go one direction, one goes positive. You go the other direction, the other one goes positive. But they're both normally ground. I gotta see which one I'm losing, and then I'll know where to look. According to this wiring diagram, the ground comes through here, G401, goes through the main switch, and it supplies grounds to the rear switch on the green and blue and the green and natural, it looks like it says wire. Then the left rear switch is grounded continuously, like I mentioned earlier, on both wires. I got out my trusty power probe. That usually helps quite a bit with power window motors and cooling fans and stuff like that. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is I'm going to work the window switch. I'll try it with the power probe and see how that works. This is the ground wire. Try that one first. What the heck? It works now. It suddenly starts working when I hook up my test equipment. It's fixed. No problem. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this thing was stuck on the rubber from the window tint. It broke free from the window tint, now it works. That's interesting. Yep, it's fixed. No charge. I hook up my power probe and it starts working. That's sweet. What are we gonna do now to try to get it to stop working? Put everything back together, then it'll stop. You hear that? I think they tinted the windows, put them up, then the tinner uses their little stick to push the tint in and says don't put the window down until it dries. And I think they were stuck in the channels. These Hondas, they do not like window tint. I was just reading the service bulletin about it while I was pulling this wiring diagram. It says cautions about window tint, interferes with electronics and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna put it all back together and see if it still works. How about that? I thought I had some masking tape for this, but Since I don't, I'll just use duct tape. I got a roll of duct tape getting really old. My apologies, I gotta put you guys on the ball cam. That's the only way I can get this done. I don't have time to go grab my tripod, so I use the ball pod. That's all. Nobody's gonna get hurt. That's all. I just go around there and tape it back up so it won't fall down and be bunched up inside the door panel and serve no purpose. Make sure your electrical connectors are coming out in the right spot. Put my bracket on, and we're done. Then we'll see if it still works. They like to act up again once you put them all back together. But I can get to that. If I would have known it was only something like that, for some reason I saw the grease prints. I assumed someone had screwed the window up in place. It makes sense to me. I hope it does to you guys. I pop all the plastic clips out of the door, put them back in the door panel. They normally will stay in the door. I don't know why. Most cars, the clips are aggressive on the metal side and they pop off the plastic. Probably designed that way so they don't break the plastic. So, a couple Phillips screws, this thing's back together. I can feel it. There it comes. Oh. Nice. Whew, I'm gonna take the door panel back off. That's good. Get this thing running. Oh, look at that. Squeaks going in and out though. Uh-oh. Stop working. I told you that's how it works. I told you guys. That is how it works. That's nice. Alright. That's terrible news. Yeah. Alright. Hey Paul, you got a second? Squeeze this glass and push down on it while I push the switch down here. I want to see if it is, I'm not sure. No?
Moving the whole fucking car. I want to take the door panel off so it'll get you.
My theory of the sticking glass is not working out. When I go down, power, you're not supposed to have power on that one. The second red wire is supposed to be the ground. So if I push down and give it a ground, window works. Alright, I don't want to work it too much. I think I was just lucky that it started working when I started messing with it and showing you guys. And I thought adding the amperage from my power probe got it to override how it was stuck. But it was just a total coincidence. And I think it has a bad switch. So... Alright, I'm glad it showed itself and I didn't give it back to the customer. That's the most important thing. Right now it's working. What about if I put it back in position? Let's try that. Well, something going on with the switch. I got it to do it. I lost my ground. I gave it ground and it worked. And now it keeps working again just like before. What happens is the switch has 4 slides it counts on to maintain grounds and to transfer the power. So when the slides go bad, all kinds of weird stuff will happen where it'll work sometimes and not work sometimes. And normally what it does, when it loses the ground transfer, then it shows power on that circuit because it's not being pulled to ground, right? So I think it's got a bad switch. Put it back together, try to get it to do it again. That's all we can do. We definitely have a switch problem. I'm losing my ground on that back window switch. Now the question is it coming from the back switch or the front switch? I pulled the front switch out. Let's see if I get it to stop working again. Let's try. Now it's not working. Let's squeeze this switch. Try wiggling it, jiggling it. Sometimes manipulating a bad switch will start working. But it's not doing it right now, so I can put my power probe here, keep my ground up here, and see if it'll work. It goes up and not down. Because what happens is if this switch doesn't send the ground, it doesn't get to the rear switch, right? So that same ground for down, green and blue all the way to the front switch, the master switch, has to supply ground on both those circuits. So I'm going to get my power probe in that green and blue wire, which is right here, and to see if I put a ground to that, will it start working. Then I know the ground's not coming out of the switch. It's still not working. If I sometimes smack this around. Okay, I got my power probe jammed in there. When I go down, I shouldn't get voltage. It should stay grounded, right? Now if I ground it, the window goes down. And you guys can see that. Put you guys in a safe place. Uh-oh, now you're looking at me. You don't want to see me. You want to see that window work. Selfie stick's got to be longer. Put my power probe back in the wire. Does it work without it? Nope. Now I'll give the ground that it's supposed to supply. The power probe's in. Window switch is down, ground. So it's got a bad master switch. The master switch is intermittently taking away the ground from the back window. And all of that stuff I did messing with all that when it started working, pure coincidence. That's something we have to deal with every day. You know, if I would have called it right there and said it needs a switch in the back, or if it was just stuck in a channel like I first thought, then I would have put parts in it didn't need, or had them thinking it was going to be like that forever. But luckily it acted up for me again. Like I said, if you put it all back together, it'll usually show its ass again. That's exactly what it did. So now I verified I'm losing my ground at the master window switch. That's why there's no ground coming out of that switch. Because when it doesn't work, it also doesn't work from this switch. But I can get it to work from here by adding a ground here. It'll even work from that switch. Got a bad master switch. Let's see if that thing's available. We haven't had a lot of luck finding parts for this car. And we'll see what's happening next. Alright guys, I went and told them up front this thing is a master window switch. They seem kind of sad. 97 Honda Accord parts aren't easy to come by new. You could probably find salvage or something on eBay that you're not sure if it's going to work till you try it. Obviously if this one has a problem, used ones you find will probably have a similar problem. That's the switch that gets used the most, the master switch, right? But it's getting late. Wrapping this day up. It's been my pleasure having you guys here. I enjoyed your company. I hope you got something from this video, maybe enough to torque the like button. Maybe subscribe, click the bell, all that kind of stuff. And I hope I get to see you guys in the next video because you're awesome.